right, so buckle up, everyone, because today we're diving deep into one of the most puzzling UFO incidents ever, the Tehran UFO incident of 1976.
Yeah.
And what makes this one so different from, your average UFO story? We're not talking like blurry photos or shaky videos.
Right.
We've got multiple credible eyewitnesses, including some experienced pilots,
Oh, yeah.
air traffic controllers, ground personnel.
Yep.
And all of this is backed up by radar data and official government investigations.
It's pretty crazy.
So
Yeah.
it's not just some fringe event like you see,
Right, there you
on
go,
those
yeah.
late night UFO shows.
Yeah.
This was a major incident that really shook the Iranian Air Force.
Wow.
And it even caught the attention of the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
And this all went down in the skies above Tehran on September 19th, 1976.
Okay.
A period that was already, pretty tense in pre-revolutionary Iran.
Gotcha. So set the scene for us a little bit more.
Okay.
What exactly happened that night? Well, as the sun set over Tehran, things seemed pretty normal.
Okay.
At Mehrabad Airport, just another day.
Uh-huh.
But then things got wild when the control tower suddenly got hit with all these reports
Oh, wow.
of a UFO.
Okay.
And we're not just talking about, like, a light in the sky or something.
Right.
This thing was bright, it was flashing different colors, and it was moving erratically at unbelievable speed.
So right away,
Yeah.
this is sounding pretty unusual.
Yeah,
Like
we're
no
not-
ordinary aircraft would be doing anything like that.
Right.
So how did the authorities respond?
Well, they scrambled 2 F-4 Phantom-to-Second jets.
Okay.
Now, these weren't just like,
Right.
your run-of-the-mill patrol planes or anything.
Yeah.
The F-4 was a total workhorse for the U.S. Air Force back in the Vietnam War.
Wow.
It was a supersonic twin-engine all-weather interceptor,
Yeah.
specifically designed for high-speed intercepts.
Okay.
So the fact that they deployed these jets
Yeah.
really shows you just how seriously they were taking this UFO.
Yeah, I mean, that really ups the ante here.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got these top-of-the-line jets
Right.
flown by experienced pilots
Absolutely.
heading straight towards this unidentified object.
Yeah.
What happened next?
This is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
So as the F-4s got closer to the UFO, one of the pilots tried to lock onto the object with his weapons system.
Okay.
But it was almost like the UFO knew exactly what he was doing.
What?
His instruments just went haywire,
No way.
and his weapon systems completely shut down.
So you're saying the UFO, interfered with the jet systems?
It seems that way.
That's straight out of a movie.
I know, right? But it gets even weirder. So
Okay.
as the pilot tried to re-engage, the UFO seemed to release a smaller object
What?
that headed straight for his jet
Oh, wow.
at an incredible speed.
Oh, no.
So thinking it was an incoming missile, the pilot got ready to fire a countermeasure.
Right.
But then just as quickly as it appeared, the smaller object just vanished.
So this UFO is, playing with them or something?
Yeah, it really seems that way.
Like testing them.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so as this encounter went on, both pilots reported seeing this object just doing these impossible things,
Oh, yeah.
like speeds and maneuverability that were way beyond anything they'd ever seen.
It was crazy.
They described it as this bright light that kept changing colors between white, red, and green
Uh-huh.
and moving in ways that you just can't explain with physics.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Okay, so it's fast, it's agile, it's flashing different colors.
Right.
We're starting to build a picture here of what these pilots encountered.
Yeah.
But this can't just be a story about a couple of guys in the sky.
Oh, no.
There had to be other people who saw this.
Definitely.
Right.
So while this chase was happening up in the air,
Uh-huh.
air traffic controllers and other ground personnel at Mehrabad Airport were watching this thing too.
Seriously?
Yeah, and they backed up what the pilots were saying.
Wow.
They described a similar bright light moving like crazy in the sky.
Okay.
And to top it all off, they had radar data too.
Oh, wow.
They were picking up this unidentified object on their screens.
So this wasn't like a mass hallucination or something?
No, it really seems like something was there.
Wow, so we've got multiple independent witnesses.
Yeah.
All seeing the same thing.
It's pretty compelling.
It really is.
Yeah.
So what about the official investigations?
Right.
You mentioned that even the U.S. got involved.
Yeah, and that's a big deal.
Okay.
So the Iranian government immediately launched an investigation into this whole thing.
Uh-huh.
And they even contacted the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency for help.
Wow.
Now, governments usually just dismiss UFO sightings as hoaxes or mistakes.
Right.
But there was just too much evidence in the Tehran case.
Yeah.
They couldn't ignore it.
Wow.
So they had to take it seriously.
So what did those investigations find?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
The official reports are still a bit vague, but the important thing is that neither the Iranian nor the U.S. investigation could rule out the possibility that this thing was extraterrestrial.
Wow.
I mean, the way it behaved, its advanced technology, its seemingly intelligent reactions,
Right.
it just didn't fit with any conventional explanation.
It sounded like they were really stumped.
They were.
Okay. Well, we were talking earlier about some declassified DIA documents.
Oh, yeah, those.
So tell me more about those. What kind of secrets are hidden in those pages?
Well, those declassified DIA documents, they add like a whole other layer to this.
Oh, yeah.
To this whole thing.
Okay,
You
yeah.
know, because they give us a peek into how seriously the U.S. government was taking this.
Wow.
Even though a lot of it's redacted,
Right.
we can still see,
Yeah.
stuff like analyses of the radar data transcripts of interviews with the pilots, and even some speculation about what the UFO might have been.
So what's the overall sense you get from these documents? Do
Mhm.
they lean towards any particular explanation?
It's hard to say for sure, with all the redactions and everything,
Right.
but there are definitely some hints that they were considering something really extraordinary.
Like what?
Well, they mention unknown technology,
Mhm.
and they even use the term extraterrestrial hypothesis.
Wow. Okay, so they weren't ruling out aliens.
It's hard to say if they were convinced or not,
Right.
but it definitely shows that they were taking the possibilities seriously.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's not every day you see the government even entertaining the idea of aliens.
I know, right?
Okay, so we have all this evidence,
Yeah.
but we're still left with the big question.
Right.
What was that thing in the sky over Tehran?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's what makes this case so fascinating.
Okay.
It's not just about believing in UFOs or not.
Right.
We have real evidence from a bunch of different sources that
Yeah.
something unexplained happened.
So what are the possible explanations? What
All
about
right.
the most obvious one? Misidentification.
Okay.
Could the pilots and the air traffic controllers and everyone on the ground have all mistaken something ordinary for a UFO,
Right.
like a bright star or a weather balloon?
I mean, it's possible, but it's not very likely.
Okay, why not?
Well, remember, we're talking about experienced pilots here.
Right.
These guys are trained to identify aircraft.
Yeah.
And they were sure that what they saw wasn't anything conventional.
Ah.
Plus, the radar data backs them up.
Right.
This object was moving way too fast and way too erratically for any known aircraft back then.
Okay, so misidentification is probably out.
Probably.
So what about a secret military aircraft?
Okay.
Could it have been some top secret technology being tested by like the US or even the Soviets?
That's definitely a possibility.
Okay.
I mean, governments do have a history of developing secret stuff.
Right.
But even if that's what it was, it still doesn't explain everything.
Like what?
Well, the things this UFO could do, the
Yeah.
way it messed with the F-4s, it all suggests a level of technology that was way beyond anything anyone knew about back then.
So you're saying it would have had to be like a super advanced aircraft.
Exactly.
Like something that would have completely revolutionized aviation.
Yeah.
Wow, it's mind-blowing to think that something like that could have existed back in 1976,
I know, right?
been kept totally secret.
It's crazy.
Okay, so if it wasn't misidentification
Uh-huh.
and it wasn't a secret aircraft,
Yeah.
what else could it have been?
Well, this is where things get really interesting.
Okay, I'm listening.
We have to start thinking about the unknown.
Okay.
Some researchers think that the Tehran UFO could have been a natural phenomenon,
Okay.
something we just don't understand yet.
Like what? We're talking about like ball lightning.
Possibly,
Or sprites.
maybe,
Okay.
but those things are usually pretty quick,
Right.
and they don't really act in an intelligent way.
Right.
And remember, this UFO was interacting with the jets.
Yeah.
It seemed to be reacting to what they were doing.
Right.
So it was probably more than just some random atmospheric thing.
Okay, so we've talked about misidentification,
Yep.
secret aircraft,
Uh,
natural phenomena.
right.
But let's be real here.
Okay.
What about aliens?
The big question.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a possibility we can't just ignore,
Okay.
especially with all the evidence we have.
So you're saying the Tehran UFO could have been an alien spacecraft?
It's definitely on the table.
Wow. Okay, so if we go down that road,
Yeah.
it opens up a whole new set of questions. Like,
Yeah.
what were they doing here? What
Yeah.
was their purpose?
Exactly.
Were they just watching us?
Or was there something more to their visit?
Yeah.
Those are questions that people have been asking for centuries.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the Tehran incident doesn't give us any easy answers.
So it just deepens the mystery.
It really does.
But maybe that's the point.
What do you mean?
Maybe these encounters are supposed to make us question everything we think we know.
About the universe.
Yeah, about the universe and our place in it.
I think you might be onto something.
It really is a humbling thought, isn't it?
It is.
But also kind of exciting.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it means there's still so much out there to explore.
Exactly.
So many mysteries to unravel.
Absolutely.
And who knows, maybe someday we'll have the answers to what happened in Tehran.
Maybe.
But until then,
Yeah.
it's one of those compelling UFO cases we have.
It really is.
Okay, but before we get lost in all the cosmic implications here,
Uh-huh.
I want to bring things back down to earth for a minute.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about the technical side of the Tehran incident,
Yeah.
the radar data, the pilot testimonies, the investigations.
Right.
But let's not forget about the human side of this story.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in all the scientific stuff,
Uh-huh.
but at the end of the day, this is a story about people.
Real people.
The pilots,
Hmm.
the air traffic controllers, the people on the ground who witnessed this,
Yeah.
their lives were changed forever by what they saw that night.
No doubt.
Can you imagine being in their shoes?
Oh, man.
You're up in the sky,
Yeah.
or you're watching from the ground,
Uh-huh.
and you see something that just breaks all the rules.
Something that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It would be terrifying.
And I bet the psychological impact of that would be huge.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of the witnesses said they felt awe and wonder,
Yeah.
but also fear and confusion,
Right.
even a sense of vulnerability.
It would make you question everything.
And it's not just the initial shock either.
Right.
For some people, the experience stays with them for years.
Yeah.
It changes their beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
their whole worldview, their sense of reality.
You would have to.
This is why it's so important to take eyewitness accounts seriously,
Definitely.
even when they sound crazy.
Exactly.
These experiences are real for the people who have them,
They are.
and we need to listen to them with empathy and understanding.
I agree.
It's a reminder that when we're dealing with the unknown,
Uh-huh.
the search for truth should always be done with compassion and respect for those who've had these first-hand encounters with something extraordinary.
Well said.
So where does this leave us? What can we take away from the Tehran UFO incident?
That's a good question.
Besides a sense of wonder and maybe a few sleepless nights,
Yeah, right.
I think one of the biggest takeaways is that we need to be open to the possibility that there's still so much we don't know about our universe.
I agree.
The Tehran incident challenges our assumptions about what's possible,
Definitely.
both in terms of technology
Uh,
and the nature of reality itself.
absolutely.
It's a reminder to stay curious, to keep asking questions,
Yeah,
and to be willing to consider explanations that might seem crazy at first.
I like that.
Because what seems impossible today might be totally normal tomorrow.
That's a good point. And, you know, for me personally, I think the Tehran incident teaches us to be a little more humble
Okay.
because we're not the center of everything.
Right.
And what we understand about the universe is always changing.
Yeah, that's true.
So embracing that uncertainty can be scary, but also freeing.
It really makes you appreciate how much we still have to discover out there.
Exactly.
But before we wrap things up, I wanted to touch on one more thing.
Okay.
We've talked about a lot of external stuff like technology and government secrets and the vastness of space.
Mm-hmm.
But what if the real key to understanding this whole Tehran UFO thing is actually inside us?
What do you mean?
Well, I'm talking about the connection between UFOs and human consciousness.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's an idea that's getting more attention lately,
Yeah, I've heard about that.
especially with all the new research on the nature of consciousness
Right.
and how it might shape reality.
So you're saying that maybe UFO encounters aren't just external events,
Exactly.
but that they could be influenced or even caused by human consciousness?
That's the idea.
Wow, that's pretty mind-blowing.
Right.
What if these sightings are like a projection of our own collective unconscious?
Yeah.
A reflection of our deepest fears and hopes and anxieties about the unknown?
So instead of looking for alien spaceships, we should be looking inside our own minds.
Maybe.
That's a pretty big shift in thinking.
It is, but it's worth considering.
Yeah.
I mean, the Tehran incident, with all its strangeness and how it defies explanation,
Right.
it could be like a trigger for that kind of exploration.
And it would explain why these encounters often seem so illogical and unscientific.
Exactly.
Because if they're coming from human consciousness, then the normal rules wouldn't apply.
Right.
And that opens up a whole new way of researching and investigating these things.
Yeah.
Instead of just focusing on the external stuff,
Uh-huh.
we might need to start looking inward,
Okay.
exploring the subjective experiences of the witnesses,
Yeah.
the psychological and cultural factors that might be involved.
That makes sense.
So the Tehran UFO incident, which started with radar blips and fighter jets,
Yeah.
could actually lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves.
It's possible.
And I think that's one of the most fascinating parts of this whole mystery. The search for answers about UFOs might ultimately lead us to a deeper understanding of the human mind, the nature of consciousness,
Right.
and maybe even the fabric of reality itself.
It's a pretty profound thought.
It is.
So as we keep exploring the unknown, both out there in the universe and within ourselves,
Yeah.
I think the Tehran UFO incident will always be a reminder
Of what?
that the universe is full of wonders and possibilities that we can't even imagine right now.
It's true.
Well, I think that about wraps up our deep dive into the Tehran UFO incident.
Yeah, I think so too.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
You have.
From the initial sightings and that crazy chase in the air,
Right.
to the official investigations and all the mysteries that still remain.
And I think we can all agree that the Tehran UFO incident, with all the data and eyewitness accounts and unanswered questions,
Yeah,
is one of the most compelling UFO cases ever.
absolutely.
It makes you question everything.
It really does.
And it reminds us to keep an open mind.
And to never stop searching for answers.
Exactly.
So to all our listeners out there,
Yes.
keep looking up at the night sky. Keep your minds open to the extraordinary.
And never stop exploring the mysteries of the UFO phenomenon.
Because you never know what you might find.
That's right. And on that note, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the Tehran UFO incident.
We'll see you next time.